Well, hello and welcome to the Mythology of Astrology with my psychic connection and me, Squirrel. It's so good to see you here. And today I am going to be telling you the story of the zodiac sign of Cancer. Now, in order to do this right, I've got two stories I've got to tell you. And the first one starts about 20 years before the actual story of Cancer. So, there was this queen called Alcmene, and she was married to Amphitryon, the king of Tyreus. And Alcmene was absolutely in love with her husband. And those of you who have been here with me before, you know where this is going. There was a god named Zeus, and he liked those beautiful queens, and he would go out of his way to seduce them and have an affair with them. But Alcmene was so in love with Amphitryon that she just wasn't going to have anything to do with it. And she also knew that Hera was a very jealous goddess. And Hera, the goddess of hearth and home, she was the wife of Zeus. And when she got jealous of Zeus's affairs, she didn't punish Zeus. She punished the women that Zeus had the affair with, whether they knew it or not. So Zeus decided that he really, really wanted Alcmene, especially because she was so in love with her husband. So he disguised himself as her husband, and he seduced her as her husband. And of course, she made love to him that night. And wasn't she surprised when her husband came in later in the evening and wanted to make love with her again? Now, she didn't think anything of it. She just thought, wow, he's really feeling froggy tonight. This is great. And they had, out of these unions, two sons, twin boys, and they were named, let me find that, Alcides, who was the son of Zeus. He was a demigod. And the other was Iphicles, the son of Amphitryon. So he was a mortal. Now, neither of them thought anything of this. They were just so feeling so blessed to have these beautiful twin boys. But about 2 months in, Alcides started showing some really odd signs. It's like, imagine having a 2-month-old who could break the bars on his crib, who could lift grown dogs and give them kisses. This is a happy baby, but this child was ridiculously strong. And they started thinking, oh, something's not right here. Now, Iphicles was perfectly normal, but Alcides, he was just so showing some signs of being super strength. And all of a sudden, if this didn't clue them in, the gods started popping in. Zeus came with presents, then Apollo, then Hermes, then Athena. And all of the gods were just totally enamored with him. And they started calling him little cousin or son. And Alcmene was like, oh, shit, Hera's going to kill me. So they sat down together, Alcimedes and Amphitryon, and they said, maybe we can appeal to Hera's good side. Because Hera was the goddess of hearth and home. She wasn't all bad. She'd just get a little wonky when Zeus went having an affairs. And they renamed Alcides as Heracles, which means the glory or the pride of Hera. They thought, maybe if we name our son after her, she won't really go after us. Well, it didn't quite work out that way. Hera found out. She saw what all the other gods were doing, and she was pissed. She was pissed partly because they tried to fool her into thinking they named him after her. And then she was pissed because Zeus had had yet another affair. And then she was triply pissed because all the gods fell in love with this baby. He was giggly and he was sweet and he was smiley and he would like lift things to show off. They just everybody fell in love with this baby and couldn't get enough of him. So when Alcides and Iphicles were 8 months old, Hera's like, yeah, I'm getting rid of them. And she sent these two giant, terribly venomous snakes. She crept into their nursery and she let those snakes loose. Now, Hercules, we'll call him Hercules because that's what we know him as today. The name's changed over time. Hercules, as even as an infant, was very intelligent, very, very intuitive. And he felt the threat right away. And when that snake slithered up into the crib, tongue just flickering, Hercules knew instantly that that snake was going to kill Iphicles. And he grabbed it by the head and he just crushed its head. And then when the other snake come up over the crib, hissing and sissing and just ready to bite, Hercules grabbed by that one by the neck. And in both hands, he just crushed the head of one and he strangled the other. And he just bashed them together until they were pretty much pulp. And the next morning, when Alcmene and Amphitryon came into the room, here was the baby with two dead snakes. And he was trying to put them back together because they weren't a threat anymore. He thought they were toys. But Iphicles was in the corner, just curled up and bawling. And Amphitryon was like, oh, God, there's a problem here. So he went to the Delphic oracle. And he said, what is going on? And the Oracle of Delphi confirmed this is indeed Zeus's son. This is indeed. But he is going to be the slayer of monsters. He is going to be the hero of the world. And Amphitryon was like, okay, I can handle that. And he did go to his wife, Alcmene, and say, what the hell? You slept with Zeus? And Alcmene was like, I swear, I never slept with Zeus. And they traced it back to when Zeus had I he had disguised himself as Amphitryon. So Amphitryon was like, okay, you didn't cheat on me. You really thought it was me, and we're okay. So they did their best. And of course, Zeus. Zeus had a lot of affairs and he had a lot of children, but he was never any kind of deadbeat dad. He always made sure to take care of the children that his affairs conceived. So he was there quite often. And I wouldn't say that him and Amphitryon became friends, but they tolerated each other and they co-raised both Hercules and Iphicles as brothers and both of them sons. So Hercules grew up to be strong, happy, healthy, just and handsome. And he was truly, truly loved by the gods. His best friends were Apollo, Hermes, and Athena. And they could pretty much always be caught together while Hercules was growing up. And he was happy. So, but one thing that did happen, I skipped it. I'm sorry. When the gods found out that Hera had tried to kill Hercules, they banned her. They banned her from being anywhere near him, and they forbade her to harm him in any way. She would have been punished severely if she harmed him in any way. So she watched this kid grow up and she hated him. Oh, she hated him. She watched him grow up, being loved by everyone, being loved by the gods. It's just becoming this strong, beautiful, happy creature. And she devised a plan. So the first plan, when he turned about 18, she started insinuating herself into his dreams. She's coming for you. Hera's gonna get you. She's coming for you. And you never know whose face she's wearing. She kind of drove him a little nuts. Every night he started having these dreams. He didn't think anything of them, but it did make him a bit paranoid. And when he was about 20, he married a beautiful woman named Megira. She was the eldest daughter of King Creon of Thebes. And together they had three strong sons, Thermachus, Creontiades, and Diacune. And they were so happy. He loved his family. He just knew he was where he belonged. He had the gods as friends, people as friends, and he was doing so well. But every night, the dream, she's coming for you. Hera's gonna get you. And one night he woke up and he opened his eyes, and Hera was standing in front of him. And she had a knife in her hands, and she was grinning, like, I got you now. And he tore her head off. Strongest man in the world just ripped her head off and screamed, no, no, you can't have me. And he ran to check on his sons. And as soon as he opened the door, Hera was standing there again. It's like, oh God, she's here, she's here. And he punched her in the chest, and his fist went right through her heart. And then she stood up behind him and she said, Hercules, what are you doing? I'm here. And he ripped off her arms and he punched her and he punched her until she was dead. And one more time, she came walking in the door and she said, what are you doing? Do you think you could possibly escape me? And he took her and he bashed her head into the wall until it was nothing but pulp. And he sobbed and he cried. And he said, please, why? Why does she hate me so much? And he passed out because he was so exhausted and so tired. And he felt like he was going crazy. And the next morning, he woke up and his wife's head was ripped off. The baby had a hole punched through his chest. The youngest, or the middle son, had his head bashed against the wall. And his oldest son had his arms ripped off. Hera had superimposed her image and her voice onto his wife and children, and she had driven him crazy to a point where he killed them because he thought they were her. And oh, poor Hercules. Oh, he collapsed on himself, and he got out his knife and he was going to end it, because he was just a demigod. He was not immortal. He could die. And he had the knife poised. He was just going to push it into his chest. And he was crying out, and please forgive me. Oh, gods, forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. And in popped Apollo. And Apollo said, stop, stop. And he grabbed the knife and he said, Hercules, Hercules, she did this. She did this. Hera did this, not you. And Hercules said, it was my hand. It was me that killed them. It was me that didn't see them. And I just want to die. Apollo just grabbed him up and rocked him and said, no, no, this can be atoned. You have to do an atonement. We will go to the Oracle of Delphi and we will see what can be done. You cannot let her win. So Hercules didn't get himself together, because how do you get yourself together after that? But he did pull himself enough that he was able to go to the Delphi with him. And they asked her, what can Hercules do to atone, to make up for this, for being driven crazy by that jealous goddess, and make things right? And Hercules knew he could never bring them back, but he would do anything to show them that he loved them and that he would never have killed them if he knew it were them. And the oracle stood up and she said, well, you're going to have to serve your cousin, King Eurystheus of Mycenae, for 10 years. You will have to do whatever that king's asked you. And Hercules thought about it for a minute. He was like, oh, hell no. That's my father's brother. And that man hates me too. And he will treat me like the devil. Like, oh, you would not believe. Eurystheus hated both Hercules' father and Hercules because Amphitryon, Hercules' father, had accidentally killed Eurystheus' father, and he never forgave Amphitryon. So Apollo took Hercules to the side and said, you've got to do this. If you don't do this, you will die by your own hand. And I can't let that happen. I love you. You are something the world needs, and you are destined to do great things. So you have to put up with him, and you have to put up with the menial labor that he'll give you and the insults that he'll give you. And Hercules, like, you're right. I deserve punishment, and it's just. So the very, very first task that Eurystheus, that's so hard for me to say, Eurystheus gave to Hercules was to kill something called the Linnaean Hydra. So back about 10 years, and we're going to go to Hera and her scheming, and then we'll go into Hercules' task. So Hera knew that if she didn't drive him crazy and get him to commit suicide, excuse me, that she had to have other plans in action. And she was in cahoots with Eurystheus. She was absolutely in cahoots with him. And she told him what tasks to give to Hercules. And these were called the 10 labors of Hercules. Two of them didn't count, or Eurystheus said, no, they don't count, because he had help with those. So it actually turned into 12 labors. But the second of the 12 labors was the Lernaean, not the first. So the Lernaean Hydra was created by Typhus and Echidna, the two titans that were the mother and father of all monsters. And Hera had actually asked them, I need you to create this Hydra. It's a water serpent. It's a giant evil water serpent. And I want you to give it 9 heads and make it immortal. And every head you cut off grows back 2. And she said, I want it to be mean. I want it to eat people. And I want it to be the most fearsome beast that anybody has ever seen. And Typhus and Echidna were like, sure, yeah, we'll make that for you, whatever you want. So they made this monster, like specifically for Hera. And Hera had it made specifically to kill Hercules. Now, one of the things about the Linnaean Hydra was it had some serious, massive venom. So if it bit him, he would die almost instantaneously. And it had those 9 snapping, vicious heads. And Hera took it to the swamp near Lake Lerna, and she just dropped it off, and then she put poisonous vapors all around its cave. So if Hercules walked into it, he would be insta dead too. So when Hercules got this task, he knew what he was walking into because this monster had been raging for 10 years near all of the outlying cities of Lerna. So it had been just terrifying. It was a savage monster. So when Hera dropped it into the swamp, there was a little crab, a normal sized little crab, and his name was Carcanos. And Carcanos was a kind soul. He was a little grumpy sometimes, but he was a beautiful, kind soul. And this crab, he would go and he would free kelp and free animals, and if they were trapped, and he'd take them out of the cages. He was a very intelligent crab. So when he heard this hydra just tearing up his swamp and going out and crashing things and chewing up people. He was like, I got to see what's going on. And he went to the cave that the hydra was staying in. And he was like, this ain't right. Is this poison? What is this? It's gross. And he walked up to the hydra and he said, what's going on here? This is my swamp and you can't be tearing it up. And the hydra looked at him. I'm supposed to be mean. I'm just doing what I'm told. Hera tells me to go eat people, and I go eat people. I'm just doing what I told, so leave me alone or you're going to get me in trouble. And Carcanos said, hey, that's not right. What is your name? And the Hydra was like, name? What's a name? Ain't nobody. I don't I don't know what a name is. Carcanos was like, that's who you are. That's, if you have somebody who owns you and tells you what to do, what do they call you? He said, Hydra. I'm just a Hydra. Carcanos said, that ain't right. My name is Carcanos. I'm going to give you a name. So Carcanos gave the Hydra a secret name. So secret that nobody knows it. It never carried on to who it is now. But he named that Hydra, and the Hydra felt a softening. It's like, nobody's ever cared enough to give me a name. And they started talking, the Hydra and Carcanos. And then Carcanos was like, all you eat is humans. Don't you want a little more variety in your diet? And the Hydra was like, what's variety? I don't know what you're talking about. So Carcanos got all the kelp and all the different swamp plants that you could eat, and he made a salad, a giant salad. Took him days to gather all the stuff. And he made this salad and he fed it to the Hydra, and the Hydra loved it. And food is the way to the heart. And the two became fast friends. And every day, Carcanos would bring some food to the Hydra, and they'd laugh and they'd talk and they'd tell each other stories. And the Hydra would tell him how all those stupid people would run and scream, and Carcanos would laugh and laugh. He's like, well, they're always trying to eat us, so it only serves them right. And they actually got along. They became true, true friends. So when Hercules showed up, and he was armed to the teeth. He was armed. He came, in comes Hercules, and he knew that it was a poisonous cave. So he knew he had to lure the Hydra out, and he covered his face with a cloth, a wet cloth, and so that the poisonous gas wouldn't kill him. And then he had a bow and arrow that Athena had given him, and he shot flaming arrows into the Hydra's cave. And then he had a great golden sword that he could cut off the Hydra's heads with. And the Hydra came out, boom, boom, boom. How dare you shoot flame into my home? Of course, Hercules didn't understand what the hell he was saying because Hercules didn't speak Hydra. But Hercules instantly started going after him with the sword, and he cut off one head, and two grew back. And it was a massive battle, and the Hydra wrapped his tail around Hercules' left foot so that Hercules could not escape. And the Hydra snapping and fighting, and every freaking single head that Hercules cut off grew back another head, sometimes two. And Hercules started to get exhausted. He was like, oh gosh, I am going to fail my second test. And he was out of breath, and up came his cousin Iolaus. Iolaus was his charioteer, and Iolaus had a plan, and he had made a a torch out of tar and pitch, and it was burning, and it couldn't be put out by the water. And so they had the Hydra out on the beach, and Iolaus, every time Hercules cut off a head, Iolaus would burn it with the torch, cauterize it so another head wouldn't grow back. And they were finally winning. And Carcanos hears all this ruckus. He's like, what's going on? And it took him a minute to get to the Hydra's cave because he was just a crab, a normal sized crab. And he got to the Hydra's cave, And he was like, "Where's the Hydra?" And he looked over at the beach. He's like, "Oh, oh, my friend is being hurt." And he moved as fast as he could. He wanted to get to the Hydra. He needed to help him. That was his friend. He loved Hydra. So by the time he got to him, Hercules was down to the last head. Every single head, except for one, was dead. And if you cut off the last head and cauterized it, that was the end of the Hydra. And Carcanos knew that, just knew that instinctively. And he threw himself at Hercules' ankle and pinched him as hard as he could. "Get off my friend!" Of course, Hercules didn't understand him either. He didn't speak crab. But Hercules just shook his foot. It was his right foot. And he shook his foot, and the crab fell off, and Hercules slammed his foot down and crushed Carcanos' shell. All the pieces of Carcanos were sticking into his body, and Carcanos was just shaking and dying. And the Hydra said, "No!" And it gave up. It dropped to its knees and put its last head down. And Hercules took his golden sword and lopped it off. And the Hydra just fell into the sand. And little Krakenos crawled his way with his shell crushing him to where he was nestled against the Hydra's neck. And then he died. His last breath was the last shudder of the Hydra. And Hercules threw the Hydra's middle head into a bag and walked away. Now, at this point, Hera would have followed him any other time. She would have followed him to see what he did. But she was so touched that Karkonos loved that Hydra, that anything could love the monster she created. And she was so touched that the Hydra reacted so strongly to Karkonos' death. She took the Hydra and she put him into the stars, whole and complete and beautiful. And right next the Hydra's most northern head, she put Krakenos. And there they live, laughing and talking and eating star kelp, and never, ever apart again. And that is the story of Cancer. Right? Guys, got any questions? Am I all alone?
And you are not alone. All right. So we got everybody saying hi to you from the beginning.
Ah, hello, hello, everybody. Ah, she said that's so creepy. Oh my God, no. That is a very tragic story. So far around. It is one of the most tragic stories. And I felt like I had to tell the story of how Hera drove. It's like Hercules always seen as the hero. But in this story, he was the villain. And no, it wasn't in the Disney movie because hundreds of kids would have been crying.
They would have said, Sebastian, no. They would have thought the little mermaid crossed over.
Yeah, I find that to be one of the more brutal and beautiful. And when I first researched it, I was like, you got to be damn kidding me, because the crab played such a small part in it. But the
Mhm.
more I thought about it, the more I loved it, and the more I realized that really is Cancer. Ah,
Cancer ended up being the more of the story.
yeah, the
No,
compassion.
yeah, and you think about it, the way cancers react and their stories is that what other people saw was the villain became their friends, and they watched these friends get crushed by the other here what people see as the heroes.
Yeah, yeah. And it didn't matter how big Hercules was. Kakanoos was not going to stand down. He really went to save his friend. And Rebecca says how sad that he found out he killed his sons. Oh my, yeah. Yeah. When I heard that, because I'd always heard it, I watched young Hercules and Xena growing up. So
Yeah.
to me, they were the heroes. I when
Mhm.
I found out what Hera had done to Hercules, I was devastated because to me he was the bright, beautiful. Like Hercules, his whole story has tragedy wound through it. And Energy said it would be the anti-Disney horror movie. LOL.
Well, the thing
Yeah, we can.
about it too is like the crab came through with a new option to eat, that you don't have to eat people. You don't have to be the person people think you are. You can
Yeah.
be the person that, as long as you're shown the way, you could turn the table. The crab being similar, let's throw Disney back in there with like Pinocchio and Jiminy Cricket being the conscience.
Oh
This
yeah.
was the monster's conscience, this little crab coming through. Look, I can fill your belly. You don't have to eat people. Look, you don't have to be what they want you to be. You can be yourself and not be this monster that everyone claims you to be.
Yep. And see, Hydra had never,
Mhm.
actually, Hydra was a she. She had never known love until Carcano. She had never known friendship or kindness.
Mhm.
Hera was cruel to her to make her a monster. She was created as a monster in form, but Hera was trying to make her a monster in reality. And Carcanos, really changed her and made her gentle. But when Hercules came in swinging a sword, what was she supposed to do?
Especially with Hercules not being able to understand. Only
Yeah.
thing Hercules knew was that this was a creature created to destroy him,
Yes. Yep. And that it had been terrorizing all the surrounding cities around the swamp.
as it was told to do.
Yep. It did what it was told.
And there's a shocker, Cancer to be the one that goes, screw that, do what you want.
Right? And Energy says, I guess we could say heroes like beauty are in the eyes of the beholder. Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. So, and Rebecca says, it's so weird that my ex-husband was a Cancer, 716, and he blinded himself with alcohol and then found out the next morning the destruction he would do. Oh, Rebecca. And it would devastate him, wouldn't it? When he would see who he was when he was on the alcohol. I'm so sorry to hear that. And cancer has some amazing traits, but an unhealthy cancer can come across as a monster.
It's
So,
very true. Very true.
yeah.
An
So,
unhealthy, depressed Cancer can be very vicious and venomous.
quite so. Well, they are cardinal feminine water, and cardinal is very outward, is very, it lets you know what it's thinking, it lets you know what it's doing, it starts things, it's very blah. And everyone thinks of feminine as soft and sweet, but I learned women get pissed off too. Moms, like moms, you know. And Rebecca says, "True, I love a lot of cancers. LOL. Me too. Me too. My sweetie, my beautiful husband is a Cancer man. Two of my best friends are cancers. So, and they're all cancer men. I uh I do have a cancer woman that I love very much, but I haven't seen her or talked to her in just a little while. But the cancer men, especially, and Carcanos was a male cancer. Energy says it's the negative side of that cardinal water. Yeah, that cardinal water gives life. It gives nurturing. It's very nurturing. It's very proactive. That's a good name for cardinal. It's very proactive in helping and loving and nurturing. And the the flip side of that, the negative side of cancer, it could be very, very hurtful, especially,
Facts.
yeah. Now, if it's protecting something that it loves, it's very protective of what it loves, and I think that's healthy. I do think that's healthy, but the unhealthy aspect of it is it just wants everybody around it to feel the pain that they do, and they make sure they do. So unhealthy cancer is a hard thing to swallow. But this story, I love that it showed the love, the compassion, the nurturing, the the ability to see people for who they are, not what others perceive them to be.
Well, when you were talking about, it started off with the story of Hercules, and I was like, what are you doing here, Hercules? This ain't your birthday. You're not a Cancer
No, 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 he is not. Not even in the closest. I would call him an Aries.
or arrogant in this case, but he knew what he was doing and he was seeing what he was, protecting. I'm here to protect the people, and this
Ex-
monster was created, and the nasty intent was somebody else's, just like Cancer being protective of a certain person, the intent of somebody else, and the Cancer see it.
yeah,
Like, that's not your intent.
yeah.
That's somebody else's intent. It's being inflected on you.
And I honestly feel that Carcanos didn't see the intent of Hercules saving the people. And Rebecca says, another beautiful story, though. I love all of these. Thank you. Can't wait for Virgo. 2 more months.
Yeah, you can wait a little bit longer. We're talking about Cancer now. I waited all this time for Cancer, all right?
And Energy says, and usually no one sees it coming. Right?
Mhm.
That's the cardinality of it. Cancer. Bam! What's
Mhm.
happened?
What? Ow, 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 ow. Did you just bite me? Yes. I told you. The thing
And the
about Cancers is you're right about them being forward. They warn you. They warn you ahead of time. And if you don't heed the call that they are giving you, you don't take in them signs because you think Cancers are sweet, Cancers are nice, they're just being bitchy today. No, they warned you. They and they do it kindly, and then bam, and they'll cut your ass out quick.
and speaking of cancers are nice, cancers are kind. Cancers are,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody associates sarcasm with Scorpio, and Scorpio can be sarcastic.
Yes, they
But
can.
Cancer, Cancer has the sarcasm like locked down. Cancer,
No, you
yeah.
didn't say.
Cancers can be funny with it, but sarcasm, I feel, really truly belongs to Cancer. But if you got uh, cases, Journey said, ah. So do y'all have any questions about the story, or was there anything that didn't make sense to you? Energy says, and those crab claws have a nasty hole. I know, right? Oh my gosh, they do.
Speaking of that, when it comes to the crab's claws, um, there's a certain bacteria on the claws of the crab, and just like when a Cancer is defending, the person who gets that from them, they get that energy. They get it in. It just festers with the person, and they want to find the. They want to find the crab. They want to get to the bottom of the problem. But if the crab has come to the point where they've got to pinch you and cut you out, there is no fixing it.
Yeah, I have actually seen that in action with my Cancer men. Karina says my twins born 1158 and 1159 on the Cancer Leo cusp. Interesting. The second born is a true Cancer and the firstborn more Leo. The Cancer influence I've observed is very homely and love very deeply. However, to cross, they are ruthless. And yes, the sarcasm. Oh my God, LOL. Um, if is that where Journey gets it? LOL, says Rose. And Rebecca says that's true, Journey. It was his mom's passing tragically that drove him to drink. He loved his mama so much and he wasn't able to protect her. That's that passionate protection Squirrel was talking about. Yeah, he fell apart. And that's a sad, sad thing to see
That's the
with the
depression.
Cancer.
Yeah. Once
Yeah,
they get cancers feel 100%,
they
and
do.
if they get absorbed by one emotion only, it will overtake them.
Yes,
They
yes.
will overtake them. I have been overtaken by complete sarcasm.
Yeah.
I speak it very fluently.
It's your first language, right?
Exactly.
English.
English is my second.
And as far as walking away, a Cancer will take a lot of crap
Yes.
because they love you. They love you unconditionally. Now, unconditional doesn't mean they'll let you get away with everything. It means, hey, stop that. And once they tell you to stop that enough times, they'll be like, okay, we're done. And they don't ever look back. Did y'all hear that? That was my Cancer husband with his sarcasm. And Karina says, yes, oh, so true, emotion. And you'll never, ever be loved by anybody like you could be loved by a Cancer. That's just pure and simple. Like as a
That,
friend, because if you get a close enough friend, your family, period. That makes you family.
well,
Yeah.
friendship is, just another form of family. It's another relationship. You have a
Yeah.
relationship bond. Cancers don't call you a friend unless they mean it.
And Cancer, we hear all these things that people say, but I think the truest form of I would die for you, that
Mm-hmm.
is a Cancer. That is a Cancer phrase because most of the other signs might say it. Oh, he's doing the Prince. I would die for you. He's being silly over there and making me laugh. Energy says that's so true. I am married to a Cancer, so yeah,
Me too.
yeah.
Me
Oh
too.
yeah, and you're a Cancer.
Yep, I'm a Cancer. He's a Cancer. I was
I'm a
born the
Cancer.
30th.
You're a Cancer. We.
He is the 1st of July. I'm the 30th of June.
Oh yeah, so you're like
Mhm.
right tailing each other. You
This
just
house
got
is
that.
full of love. That's probably why we have so many damn animals.
Oh yes, they're the ones who will bring home every stray.
Unfortunately.
Actually, though, okay, no, I was going to say my husband doesn't bring the strays home. I do, but I do have a Cancer Mercury, which is my thought process, the way I teach and learn, and everything that goes through my head goes through emotion as thought. So yeah, I'm the one who brings home the strays. So
Cancer will keep you away if they feel that they don't want to be attached, but know they will become attached. So
mhm.
they will keep their distance if they know attachment is something that will happen if they don't want it.
Well, you think about it, they've got some of the best armor.
Mhm.
Cancer and Capricorn have the best armor, and the crab has that natural shell.
Yes.
So, if crabs have that emotion, and sometimes they're like, I don't want to feel that, I don't want to be hurt,
Hmm.
and they will push people away. And energy says, only kind of cancer I was happy to catch.
Oh, you're welcome, energy. I'm glad to be in your life too. Sarcasm.
We just, I mean, yeah, surround ourselves by cancer men. And
Mhm.
just not all at the same time, though, because they will vie for dominance. They're cardinal. They're in charge.
Yes, but again, there are two different sides to cancer. You got your night and day cancers. That's how my husband and I survive. Is there's that night and day energy.
Oh, yeah. And
Hmm.
that really does factor heavily into a chart as well in many different ways, whether you're a night baby or a day baby.
Hmm.
That's pretty complicated stuff, but it is extremely cool. Tells you which benefic is the strongest in your chart and which malefic. And by benefic and malefic, let me say that not everything is good and not everything is bad. So those are just words. A lot of astrological words are fillers for lack of better words. So, but people think, oh, good and oh, bad. And Karina says, being close to my sons, I have absolutely observed everything you are all saying. I'm an Aquarius, so they have taught me a great deal. LOL. Yeah. And Rebecca says, sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. And Rose says, we love you, Journey.
Oh.
Oh, wait a minute. I got to show you what my husband has in his hands.
He's dead.
He started laughing. So, so, does anybody have any questions about the story or
Okay.
answers?
About cancers, you'll see, I'm pretty sure everybody has seen it about TikTok where they talk about every sign and then they get the cancer and the first thing they say is crybaby.
I don't know any crybaby cancers. Not
I,
a single damn one.
I think the reason for it being is because, as we were saying before about cancers, is they'll tell you right to your, they're not going to hold back. They're not going to wait 30 minutes. They're going to tell you right then and there, this is what you're doing, and I don't like it. And because they're
Exactly.
so expressive, that's an honest, and a defense mechanism for other signs would be, oh, you're such a crybaby. Because then when they are called out, like Cancer does call you out
It will call you out.
fast, that's oh, you're being a crybaby.
I and energy says love looking at the day night aspects of a chart. Yeah, it gets really intense. And Karina says, nope. Yup, straight out with it. And I love that about cancer because they let you know where you're stepping wrong so you don't make the same mistake again. Or you can walk away and say, I don't need this. And Cassidy says, not a question, but damn, no one can tell a story like you. Aw, your presentations are incredible. Thank you for this series. Thank you, Cassidy. I do love telling these stories. And Energy says, same here. No crybaby cancers. They are not crybabies. They tell you what's wrong. They tell you what they would do to fix it. They'll talk to you. They'll say, hey, did you mean this like this? Or, wow, yeah, no, we're not doing this. And if you don't straighten up or you keep doing the thing that annoyed them, they will walk the hell away. And that's all there is to it. Every cancer man I know will suck it up, but they will tell you, I did not like this.
Oh,
It's all the rest of the ones. It's all the people who write the astrology. It says it's not fear.
yeah, no. I'm pretty much, I'll tell you like it is. And if you don't like it, then it's like, well, what are you going to do about it to fix it?
Yeah,
That's just me.
yeah. And energy. Oh, Karina says, ditto Cassidy. And energy says cancers can also be quite private and secretive as well. They need that recharge time. They need that alone time. They love hard, but they need to be able to recharge. And Rebecca says, I think us Virgos tend to be more crybabies.
I don't think they are. From my understanding, I don't believe they are. They overanalyze a lot, though.
They're worry warts.
Yes.
Virgos are worry warts. Like, and Miss Collins says, this Capricorn loves her cancers. Best communication I've ever had, and the only sign that can read me like a book. Yeah. And Rebecca says, that part, LOL.
In all honesty, I don't really feel that any particular sign would be a serious crybaby, other than, and forgive me, Libras, if you're out there, but Libras, you think you're bringing balance. You are for yourself,
For yourselves, yeah.
but it is not for everybody else.
And Pisces, unhealthy. Well, unhealthy anything can be a
Well, yeah,
crybaby.
yeah, exactly.
Unhealthy, anything unhealthy can poor me, pity
Mhm.
party. Even Aries, even an unhealthy Aries. And Karina says, yes, I love the honesty. And Energy says, absolutely. But yeah, I think the
Mhm.
two that would be the biggest crybabies as unhealthy zodiac signs would be Pisces or Virgo, because the Virgo does the what if and no, this happened before, so it's gonna happen again type of energy. But it has to be pretty damn unhealthy. And Rebecca says, ugh, killed me right in my moon sign there, Journey. And Energy says, it also depends what else is in their chart as well. It certainly does. So our sun signs really weren't considered our most prominent sign until about the 1930s, and then in the 1970s Linda Goodman really clinched it with her books. But in the 1930s it was Chiro's apprentice. I cannot for the life of me remember his name right now. But Chiro, who was a very renowned palmist and astrologer, was asked to do Princess Margaret's har- um, uh, it wasn't called a horoscope, but birth chart in the national newspaper over in England. Chiro was busy at the time, so his apprentice took his place. And I know his name, it's just not coming into my head right now. And it was so popular that the press said, we want something like this every day, but for anybody, like for people to read and come back to. And he was the one who made it the sun to where people would come back to. So, okay, enough for the nerd point. Sorry.
But prior to that, it was like the moon sign and the rising
The
sign.
Yep, moon and rising, and mainly rising, because that is how you present yourself to the world. And that is how you perceive the world. It's when the sun was first, where the sun was coming up in the sky when you were born. It is your first thing that you see. And so the rising sign. But nowadays, and even in the 30s, especially in the 70s, not all doctors record the time of birth, and you can't get the ascendant or the rising without the time of birth. So,
Yeah.
so the sun has kind of taken over as who you are. And that is like a core part of your personality. It's how you play. It's like all the energies in your chart are impulses that you act on and do where the planets are. Those are the impulses that affect you the most. Your sun is really how you play those impulses out, what kind of energy you use to play those impulses out, if that makes any
Yes.
sense.
And, something that I know is not in books that people can study this part, but it was something that I was kind of putting together for myself is the signs that you're influenced by, who you were raised by.
Yes.
Those
Yeah.
play an important part in your chart, even though they're not a part of your initial birth chart, but you did come from those people.
Well, if you think about it, a lot of us don't follow our birth chart because we don't know them. Our birth chart is that snapshot in the sky of how we can be happiest. So, nature versus nurture. Nature, we don't always know our own nature. We didn't come with a handbook. And energy says Capricorn rising. So, very few people pick me as a sun Sagittarius when they first meet me. Yes. Yeah, most people will pick up on that rising. And Rebecca said, wow, I never thought of that. But what I was saying is, most of us don't know our birth chart, and we're human beings. We're complicated human beings. We're
Hmm.
very influenced by the world around us. So we're growing up just trying to please our mother and our father. We do what they want us to, and society. Like so many of us in our charts, we are not designed for what society thinks of as normal. We just aren't. And society tells us this is the only way to be normal. Like my husband today was talking to me about productivity and circadia rhythms. And he was saying that all my life I've been told I'm not normal or I'm lazy because I stay up all night and I wake up late in the afternoon or at noon. But it's not that I'm abnormal. That's how I am designed. It's just society sees me as abnormal. So all these things that we are supposed to be and society tells us we can't, or our parents or our friends, and we are not living our charts. We are not living our design, and we're miserable. So nature usually gets superseded by nurture because we don't know who we're supposed to be, and we're trying so hard to please those around us or just survive day to day. So I hope that makes sense. Did you
Yeah,
hear me?
I'm here. I'm looking at see if there's anybody else, but the influence of your parents' chart is impressed deeply on you because of this is their sign. But something else I found, I find interesting too is even though we're not born with a handbook, we don't know our charts. Without without most people knowing their charts, they actually their signs, the things that they do that they don't know why they do it, is embedded in them. It's like that program that's already there. It's already built in. You may not know why you do it, but there is a way. This astrology is a major tool of
Oh,
your
yeah.
tool.
It's like I'm usually like this, but when this happens, why do I snap everybody's head off type of thing? And Rose says, I'm such a night owl. And you know what? You're allowed to be Rose. And Karina says, fascinating. Love that. Yes, night owl here too. Night owls unite.
But here's the cool thing too. We want to talk about who's being a night owl, where and when and why. Also realize that you are not native to where you're originally living at today, and that you are originally native to another land. And
That is correct. I was born in Germany.
correct. So,
So,
but
mm,
even you being born in Germany, you're, as we go into your ancestry, where are they originally from? Are they originally from Germany? Are they originally from a certain part of the world? You know,
Scotland, Ireland, Poland, and Czechoslovakia.
because there are certain people that are born in certain areas, that DNA is still programmed into your body.
Yes.
You are a creature of that particular area.
Yeah.
That is still in your DNA. That's how they're capable of knowing where you come from.
And I love that. Yeah.
I
But
like
the
it too. Cause
charts, oh, go ahead.
I said I like it too because that's where I find out all this cool stuff.
But the charts do help us understand our impulses and our idiosyncrasies and our complexity so much better. And Rebecca says same, and Karina says, ah.
Here's
And Energy said she's totally a night owl. Lots of night owls here.
But here's, you want to know something too that I want to say just before we get ready to get out of here, is that you're going to find a lot of your people who are more intuitive or empathic or psychic are all going to be people who stay up later. And the reason being is because when the mind finally calms down, your regular, I've got to do this, I've got to work here, I got to go here. When that part of the mind calms down, the intuitive mind is still processing the whole day.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
So your brain is functioning at a higher level processing, and it's such a high process that even in your dream, when you go to your dream state, it's too much for you to get to that realm of sleep right then and there. So you're like, it just keeps going. It's like you're running a mile in your head, and then you come to realize you're running this mile up a mountain, and it's going to take you longer to get it, because what happens? You fell down one rabbit hole. Up, there's another one. Up, there's another one. Up, there's another one. Up,
so many rabbit holes.
Until you finally reach the bottom of one because you're so damn exhausted. Those who stay up late have to be exhausted completely in order to go to sleep. And yes, they are seen as weird or different, and also known as people of the night.
Creatures
of the night.
Creature of the night. I'm Rocky Horror now. Rebecca says, so true. I have so much more clarity at 12 to 4 a.m. Yes. Karina says, same, Rebecca. Yep.
And, you know, we all process. And the reason why it's easier for Rebecca at 12 and 4 a.m. is because her house is at ease. Notice in the everyday life, mothers are the first to rise and the last to lay their heads.
Oh, yeah.
A man can walk into the house and be like, oh, sit in his chair, and he's out like a light.
In the chair, yep.
In the chair. She's got to wake him up to get him to bed. But she is the protector of the home. She is the protector of love, keeping the house at peace. And when she finally gets her moment's peace, it is at nighttime when everybody she loves is around her.
And actually, like, there's a common misconception in today's astrology that the mother is Cancer and the father is Capricorn.
No.
But in traditional astrology, the mother is Capricorn.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's the one who has to enforce all the rules most of the time in traditional families. But mother is Capricorn. And Rose says yes, and Rebecca says yes. And Rose said, let's do time work again. And Energy says, the creature.
All right. Well, this was a beautiful show, and I'm glad everybody got a chance to be here. And of course, this show wouldn't be possible without your amazing stories and doing all the amazing research in order to find out all this beautiful information and to give us some understanding of where some of these stories and the emotions of where they came from. And, you know, it's just absolutely beautiful. And thank you so much, Squirrel, for telling them.
Oh, thank you for allowing me to do so on My Psychic Connection. I love telling the stories. I love researching them, and I love telling them with you. Thank you.
Just one more piece of sarcasm.
What's that?
I don't get it. That's my joke.
I love you. And Rose says, thank you so much. And Karina says, thank you so much, Squirrel. And thank you guys for being here. It really, really means a lot to me. And Becca says, good night. I love you all. We love you too. And Rose is laughing. Karina's laughing.
I had to do it. I had it. I've been waiting for the perfect moment. Sarcasm.
That was it. That was it. It's like, okay, I'm gonna kick you in the shin later.
Okay, I'm there for it.
I love you.
Don't worry, I got my armor on.
Oh, yeah. All right. Good night, everybody. I love you guys. Mwah. Thank you for coming. Bye.